Top 10 Gemstones in Ancient Rome. In its marble theaters and smoky temple halls, Rome sparkled with more than just gold. Beneath its empire of concrete, conquest, and philosophy, another empire was built of minerals. Gemstones in ancient Rome were more than ornaments. They were living symbols. Each whispered a different language of power, protection, or prophecy. Here are the stories of 10 gems that didn't just survive the Roman Empire, they helped shape it. Before we begin, remember to press and hold the like button, leave a comment, and hit subscribe. Ranked 10th. Sapphire, the stone, even Roman emperors feared to wear. While garnets and agates filled Roman marketplaces and adorned the fingers of merchants and soldiers alike, sapphire was something else entirely, a whisper in the wind. A ghost of divine origin, most Romans had never seen a sapphire. Sapphire was almost a myth in ancient Rome, and that was precisely why it was so powerful. Its rarity and the reverence it commanded among the Romans made it a fascinating enigma. Among priests, mystics, and those who whispered behind temple columns, sapphire was said to be the stone with which the gods could be heard. Its sparkle or showiness was not valued. Unlike rubies or amber, sapphires did not glow with warmth or vitality. Instead, sapphires glowed with the deep stillness of the ocean, like the Adriatic under a full moon, quiet but boundless. Several ancient texts mention that Emperor Aurelian kept a deep blue stone in his private collection, not to wear, but to hold. It was said to remain calm even in the heat of the Roman summer. Some believed that it helped him see through deception, that it could repel envy, expose liars, and anchor the mind to truth. It was not a weapon for battle, but a shield for the soul, forged not in fire but in silence. In Roman society, sapphire was not a stone for warriors. It was the jewel of philosopher kings, prophets, and high priests. It was not only rare, it was untouchable. It demanded not attention, but reverence. Some stones were not meant to dazzle, but to rule. Ranked 9th, Peridot, the fire of the gods. In the Roman world, few gemstones were as shrouded in mystery as peridot, then chrysolite, sourced almost exclusively from a mist-shrouded island in the Red Sea. Topazios, now called zabergad, this yellowish-green stone was said to glow with a light of its own, primarily when held to a flame. Unlike the brilliant sparkle of a diamond or the royal weight of an emerald, peridot radiates a warmth that feels ancient and alive, like the last embers of sunlight before dusk. Roman priests believed it could purify the heart and protect the soul. Soldiers carried it into battle as a talisman against treachery. Midwives kept it close during childbirth to ensure safe delivery. But most notably, it was the priests of Sol Invictus, the unconquered sun, held peridot in the highest regard, using it to invoke divine wisdom in solar rituals. According to legend, the stone would not shine for the corrupt. It would only come alive in the hands of the righteous. Even among the elite, this belief carried weight. Peridot was not only worn, it was earned. And while history may have buried its name under layers of confusion and misidentification, the truth still glimmers beneath its olive-green surface. Peridot was never the brightest gem in the empire, but in dark times it burned brightest. Ranked 8th, Jasper, the stone of silent shields. Of all the precious stones prized in ancient Rome, jasper was not the brightest nor the most expensive, but it was probably the most loyal. Jasper was not worn to be admired, but to be protected. Roman warriors carved it into amulets and pressed it into the hilts of their gladiators. It was a symbol of endurance, not luck. The Romans believed that each jasper color carried a different kind of shield: green for healing, red for courage, brown for stability, yellow for insight. There is not just one jasper, dozens of faces of the same silent sentinel, each forged from minerals and pressure over millions of years. And jasper makes no pretense of being something it is not. It is not mystical. It is not divine. It is the stone of a soldier, a traveler's companion, a protector in your pocket when prayers fail. In Roman funerary tradition, jasper was often placed at burial sites, not as decoration, but as a final promise. You are not alone, the stone seems to say. Perhaps that is what makes jasper different from other stones. It does not speak of wealth or glory. It whispers of endurance, loyalty, and a quiet strength that will outlast empires. Ranked 7th, onyx, the stone that holds its tongue. In ancient Rome, onyx was the stone of silence, a cautious, calm, and utterly unshakable strategist's mask, worn not on the face but around the soul. Onyx was commonly believed to absorb negative energy, not repel it, but contain it quietly, like a sealed vault beneath the earth. What makes onyx genuinely unique is not its color, a deep, unwavering black, but its temperament. Jewelers in Rome often remarked on its resistance to cracking and its coolness in the hand, even on hot Mediterranean days. That calmness is not just physical, it's symbolic. Roman philosophers believed onyx could calm emotional turmoil, fear, and impulse. But that silence also held dangers. Roman mystics warned that onyx could become too good at suppressing emotions if worn for too long, turning the wearer into an unreachable fortress. Some said that generals who wore too much onyx lost the warmth of compassion, becoming purely calculating. But in a world dominated by ambition and betrayal, perhaps that was the price of survival. Onyx does not dazzle, it observes, waits, considers. It is the stone of those who rule not by force but by mind mastery. And long after its wearers have fallen, onyx remains, calm, intact, and unbroken, a silent witness to the empires built and collapsed by the secrets it never told. Ranked 6th, emerald, the eye of empires. For the Romans, the color emerald was more than just beautiful. It was a portal, a place between realms, a vision in stone. Philosophers claim that emeralds sharpened perception. Seers believed that they enhanced their powers of prophecy. And emperors wore them so that no one could lie to them. There was a saying in the imperial court, "Never keep a secret from green eyes." They weren't talking about people, they were talking about emeralds. Pliny the Elder wrote that emeralds were the only gemstone that genuinely relaxes the eyes, and Roman gem cutters would keep a rough crystal on their workbenches, not to sell, but to focus. Even the palace guards knew that emeralds were not flashy. They were formidable, a kind of power that whispered, "Not look at me, but I see you." What made the emerald unique among Roman gemstones was its duality. It was worn by the powerful, but worshipped by the pure. Priestesses in temples would place emerald fragments in water basins to cleanse their souls before offering sacrifices. Yet the same stone was in the hands of emperors on their conquests. It symbolized fertility and strategy, rebirth and ruthless insight. And like the truth, emeralds are fragile. They break more easily than diamonds or sapphires. But the Romans believed that was part of their lesson. Vision without humility is broken. Even today, when you hold a beautiful emerald, especially one from a mine that Roman hands once dug, you can feel it. The pulse, the observation, the quiet blue eyes of a world that never needed to scream to be obeyed. Ranked 5th, Lapis Lazuli, the sky trapped in stone. Lapis Lazuli is a stone that does not reflect the sky, but contains it. In ancient Rome, the lapis was more than a treasure. It was a divine relic, smuggled across deserts and mountains, wrapped in silk and secret. To possess it was to hold a piece of heaven that had fallen to earth. Unlike other gemstones, lapis was not cut to catch the light. It was carved to preserve memories, often into carvings, seals, or statues of gods. Roman artisans loved it for its deep blue color and the flecks of golden pyrite that dotted its surface like stars frozen in orbit. For them, it symbolized cosmic order, the gods above silently watching, ever present. But here's what most people miss. Rome didn't discover lapis. They inherited it. The stone's legacy stretches from Mesopotamia to Sumerian temples and Egyptian tombs. Cleopatra wore it. Babylonian priests ground it into powder to paint the eyes of their gods. When it reached the Romans, lapis carried thousands of years of prayer and prophecy in its crystal beads. Senators held lapis amulets as talismans of truth before entering the debate chamber. Some historians believe that early Roman scribes pressed styluses into lapis-rimmed wax tablets, assuming that the stone could anchor thoughts, giving weight to words. In the temples of Jupiter and Apollo, lapis lazuli adorned altars, not as decoration, but as a kind of celestial receiver, not to be admired but to be heard. It is not a gem of power. It is a gem of presence. Profound, ancient, unshakable. Ranked fourth. Carnelian, the fire that refuses to die. Some stones whisper. Carnelian does not. It roars not with volume, but with presence. A slow, steady heat that once lit the veins of warriors and the hands of gods. In ancient Rome, carnelian was not a luxury. It was a signal, a deep orange-red glow worn by those who chose movement over meditation, action over philosophy. Each mark, etched with fire and will, became a personal badge, not to impress others but to remind oneself, you are not made to retreat. But carnelian was more than just a soldier's memento. Roman midwives wore it around their necks, believing it provided strength during childbirth, calling upon the same power that built cities and toppled empires. Servants in the temple of Mars, the god of war, lined ceremonial swords with agate not for attack, but to honor the bravery of the wearer. What makes agate unique is its color, a vibrant blend of red, orange, and flame, and its energy. Roman healers believed it quickened the blood, awakened vitality, and sharpened decision-making. You don't wear agate to sit still. You wear it to move, through pain, battle, whatever comes next. Unlike sapphire, which watches from afar, or emerald, which whispers foreboding, carnelian doesn't wait patiently. The embers of the chest, the echo of a heartbeat say, go now. It's no surprise that many Roman signet rings, used to seal treaties, laws, and death warrants, were cut from agate. The empire knows that when you need a choice to last forever, you carve it into something forged in the fire. Ranked third, garnet, the stone of blood memory. For the Romans, garnet was a stone of loyalty, not the cheerful kind sung about at feasts, but the kind forged in sacrifice, sealed in absence. Soldiers wore it not for glory, but for grief. Garnet rings and amulets were often buried with the dead, not as a gift, but as an anchor, ensuring the soul found its way through the veil. Some believed garnet did more than honor the dead. It held a part of them, keeping their memories intact long after their names were forgotten. But it was not a stone of sorrow. Garnet had a pulse. Roman healers believed it stimulated the blood, stirring energy in the weak, returning warmth to the fading. Lovers exchanged garnets as tokens, not for love, but for a devotion that could endure war, exile, and time. You don't wear a garnet to attract love, you wear it to protect love. What makes garnet genuinely unique is its duality. It exists on both sides of the threshold, life and death, love and loss, courage and fear. The Romans respected that. Some generals carried garnets into battle, not for protection, but to remind them of what they were fighting for. It's not a shield, it's a mirror, reflecting not how strong you look, but how much you're willing to shed blood for something important. When a garnet is cut correctly, it doesn't catch the light like a diamond. Instead, it seems to absorb the light, hold it for a moment, and then release it in slow ember-colored rays, like the memory of a flame that refused to die. Ranked second, pearls, the queen's silent weapon. Pearls were never just jewelry. In ancient Rome, they were strategic. A pearl was a defense mechanism polished to beauty, and the Romans understood this symbolism better than anyone. Pearls were ubiquitous in imperial society, but never without meaning. Worn by powerful women, not to seduce, but to signal. To the trained eye, a strand of saltwater pearls, perfectly sized, hovering around 7.5 millimeters in diameter, can be as political as the banner of a legion. It means wealth, yes, but more than that, it means control. It means I don't have to speak to be heard. But what makes pearls genuinely unique is not their rarity, but their silence. A diamond reflects, a sapphire illuminates. A pearl, however, is soft. It absorbs light and returns it filtered, softer, wiser. Roman philosophers called it the moon's fingerprint, feminine, timeless, and unknowable. Yet beneath that placid surface, the pearl carries a tension that no other gemstone can match. It is not mined, but cultivated, not carved, but harvested. Each pearl is a wound made beautiful. No wonder Roman generals gave pearls to their wives before the war, not as a farewell, but as a kind of coded promise. This awaits me when I return. Resilience, grace, patience honed under pressure. In first place, amethyst, the stone that dare to stay sober. Why is amethyst at the top of this list? It's not the rarest, nor is it the most expensive. It doesn't come from a vanishing island or sparkle like molten sunlight. But in ancient Rome, amethyst didn't necessarily shine. It had something more dangerous: transparency. In a civilization obsessed with conquest, amethyst symbolized restraint and self-mastery. The name itself comes from the Greek amethystos, not drunk. While the Greeks may have given it that title, the Romans made it a symbol of spiritual sovereignty. Unlike rubies, which rage, or pearls, which are silent, amethyst did something radical. It said no in a world built on more. And in a culture where losing yourself is straightforward, to lust, to alcohol, to ambition, amethyst is a reminder that the most incredible power is always present. Physically, it's mesmerizing. Shades of purple range from pale lavender to royal indigo, each shade shaped by pressure, temperature, and time. Exquisite Roman amethyst, often carved in relief or incised, ranges from 10 to 25 millimeters in diameter. Large enough to make a statement, but intimate enough to feel like a private promise between the gem and its wearer. But what sets amethyst apart and transcends is its ability to refuse to cater to impulse. In Roman belief, it's not simply about avoiding intoxication. It's about remembering who you are when the world tries to make you forget. In that sense, amethyst is not as protective as agate or as energizing as red agate. It is defiant, quietly unshakable. That is why it is at the top, not because it burns brightest or is the most expensive, but because it has overcome the challenge that conquered most Romans themselves. These 10 gemstones were more than just ornaments. They were symbols, tools, weapons, and allies. Through them, Rome conversed with the gods, decided its fate, and remembered its dead. Today, we are not just touching history when we hold a piece of ancient Lapis Lazuli or wear an ancient Roman garnet ring. We are touching the intentions, fears, and hopes of the people who built an empire. Which gemstone impressed you the most? Leave your opinion in the comments and don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel to see similar content.